Shinku was being pressured by the boyfriend and girlfriend to hand over money to them. She firmly stated that the money was her scholarship fund and she wouldn't give it to them. Shinku obediently listened to the boyfriend's advice, saying that due to recent financial difficulties, she would give them the money to avoid further harassment towards her and her grandmother. However, she had become accustomed to their temptations, constantly giving them money time after time. At this point, the girlfriend, enraged, accidentally pushed Shinku down the stairs while shoving her. Shinku screamed and reached out for help, but it was too late, and the subsequent crash signaled a tragic end. "What should we do now?" asked the man. "What else can we do? Go down and deal with the body, then take the money in her bag. Mr. Hung already said, if she loses a bet and doesn't pay within 3 days, just wait for me to collect her corpse," replied the woman. So, they dumped Shinku's body in the field. Because of the responsibility weighing heavily on his heart, unable to abandon Shinku's grandmother, he transformed into a stream of soul, wanting to return to visit her. Unexpectedly, he met him. "It was clear that there wasn't much contact between us, so why did he come here?" Shinku's classmate's name was Cho Jia. After a while of digging through the dirt, he found Shinku's body. He cried and trembled, saying, I'm sorry, I'm too late. I never had the chance to stand in front of you and say, Shinku, I like you, I want to marry you." It was only at this moment that she understood, he had always hidden all his love deep in his heart. After burying her properly, Cho Jia stood in front of her grave and said, "Rest assured, I will take care of your grandmother very well." At this moment, Shinku's soul approached him, standing opposite him. Cho Jia couldn't see it, but he whispered to himself, "Shinku, wait for me." Then Cho Jia took her grandmother home. "Xing Xing, Grandma wants to see Xing Xing, please go find Xing Xing for Grandma quickly." "Grandma, let's take the medicine first, and Xing Xing will come home right away." Under his care, the situation gradually improved. But in the third spring when the peach blossoms bloomed, her grandmother still left the mortal world due to her final illness. A week later, Cho Jia knelt before Shinku's grave and said, "Xing Xing, after 3 years, I finally avenged you. These 3 years were extremely painful for me. Every day, I wanted to kill them and then find you. But I knew what mattered most to you was your grandmother, so I had to stay to take good care of her." Cho Jia took out a knife, saying in anguish, "I have suffered for 3 years in a world without you. Now I can finally go find you. If there's a next life, I truly want to stand under the sun with a love engraved deep in my heart for the girl I love." Cho Jia collapsed and also left the mortal world, while Shinku's soul lamented in sorrow, calling out for Cho Jia. Right after that, she unexpectedly reincarnated, waking up back to her high school years, and her grandmother was still alive at that time. Her grandmother approached and said, "You've finally woken up, dear." Shinku thought it was just a dream. She reached up to touch her cheek, but was surprised by the pain. Her grandmother tenderly asked, "My child, do you not like it here? If you don't, Grandma will take you back to your old school. Don't worry, Grandma will protect you." After some contemplation, Shinku happily replied to her grandmother, "It's okay, Grandma. The teachers at this school are better. I really like it here." In her previous life, her parents passed away one after another, leaving only her and her grandmother to rely on each other. But half a month ago, her eldest uncle, who was a gambling addict, came to their house again, forcing her grandmother to give him the money left by her parents for her. Because of the need for money, her uncle even threatened to harm her grandmother. To protect her grandmother from him, Shinku proactively suggested moving to this unknown place and continuing her studies. It was also in this place that she met him. Reincarnated, this time, let me get close to him. The next day, Shinku went to class and didn't see Cho Jia. She suddenly remembered that in her previous life, the first time she spoke to Cho Jia was during a physical education class. At that time, she was a new student at the school, sitting with a cheerful classmate named Wu Wu, while Cho Jia was playing basketball. The ball accidentally rolled to where she was sitting, and she kicked it back to Cho Jia. He took it and asked her what her name was. She calmly said her name was Shinku. Cho Jia teased Shinku, saying her name was very suitable to be paired with his in a Chinese poem, which when combined, meant endless nights. A boy standing next to them applauded, jokingly saying that putting their names together meant endless romantic nights. Shinku felt annoyed and stood facing Cho Jia, thinking she wouldn't bother with individual students like him. She then grabbed Wu Wu and left. At that moment, he nonchalantly made a sarcastic comment, making people extremely annoyed. Her memory returned to the present. The teacher asked the new students to introduce themselves. "Hello everyone, I'm Shinku." Then she remembered her previous life and accidentally said, "Shinku means endless nights." The classmates below listened excitedly and burst into laughter, making a scene in the classroom. Some girls admired Shinku's beauty, praising her cute face, thick eyebrows, big eyes, and attractive figure. They said to each other, "If I were a boy, I would definitely pursue her." Some thought that with this type of appearance, if she dressed a bit more revealingly, it would give off the impression of not being a good girl from a good family. At this moment, a male classmate took some photos of her and posted them on the school forum with the title "New Classmate Jia Jia Shinku." The post immediately gained attention along with some negative comments. He chuckled, mentally asking if people could be a bit more civilized. This was a school forum. Compared to this person, the school beauty, Geng Shui, was much inferior. The next day, Shinku unexpectedly reincarnated, waking up back in high school. Her grandmother was still alive at this time. Her grandmother approached and said, "You've finally woken up." Shinku thought it was just a dream. She reached up to touch her cheek but was surprised because it hurt. Her grandmother gently asked, "Sweetie, do you not like it here? If you don't, Grandma will take you back to your old school. Don't worry, Grandma will protect you." After some contemplation, Shinku cheerfully said to her grandmother, "It's okay, Grandma. The teachers at this school are better. I really like it here." In her previous life, both her parents had passed away, leaving only her and her grandmother to rely on each other. However, half a month ago, her eldest uncle, who was addicted to gambling, kept coming to their house, threatening her grandmother to give him the money left by her parents. Due to his need for money, her uncle even threatened to hit her grandmother. To protect her grandmother from him, Shinku proactively suggested moving to a place where nobody knew them to continue her studies. It was also at this place where she met him. Given a second chance in life, this time, let me get closer to him. The next day, Shinku went to class but didn't see Cho Jia there. She suddenly remembered that in her previous life, the first time she spoke to Cho Jia was during a physical education class. At that time, she was a new student sitting with her classmate Wu Wu, chatting happily, while Cho Jia was playing basketball. The ball accidentally rolled to where she was sitting, and she kicked it back to Cho Jia. He caught it and asked her name. She calmly said her name was Shinku. Cho Jia teased her, saying her name was very fitting with his in a Chinese poem. Upon hearing this, a boy standing next to him applauded, suggesting that if their names were combined, it would mean endlessly every night. Shinku became annoyed and stood up to face Cho Jia, thinking she wouldn't bother with such eccentric students like Cho Jia. She then grabbed Wu Wu's hand and left. At that moment, he seemed indifferent, which annoyed her even more. Her memory returned to the present, and the teacher asked the new students to introduce themselves. "Hello, everyone, I'm Shinku," she said. Then, she remembered her past life and accidentally said, "Shinku" means in the phrase "Jia Jia Xing Xing," which means endless nights. The students below listened excitedly, laughing and causing a commotion in the classroom. But she remained calm, telling herself to ignore them, as long as she wasn't bothered, they would find someone else to bother. A male student took out his phone and snapped a few pictures of her. Later, the teacher led her to sit temporarily next to Wu Wu and said she would rearrange the seating the next day. The female students admired Shinku's beauty, praising her charming face, thick eyebrows, large eyes, and captivating figure. They said to each other, "If I were a boy, I would definitely pursue her." Some even thought that with such a beautiful appearance, if she dressed a little less conservatively, it might give off the impression that she wasn't from a decent family. At this moment, the male student posted the photos he took of her on the school forum, with the title "New Student Jia Jia Shinku." The post immediately attracted attention, accompanied by not-so-nice comments. He chuckled mischievously and silently hoped that people could be a bit more civilized. This was a school forum, after all. Compared to her, the school's beauty queen, Geng Shui, was far less appealing. Jing Hao was scrolling through his phone when Cho Jia suddenly snatched it away. As he read, he realized the headline was indeed deceiving his classmates, making them think she was promiscuous every night. Jia Jia Shinku was also used to describe someone's fluctuating life. He read the mocking comments, feeling his hands shaking with anger. Jing Hao, feeling indignant, asked, Didn't you just admire the new student? How can you stand by while others slander her? Seeing only malicious comments, Cho Jia tossed the phone back at Jing Hao. Talking too much? I'm getting annoyed, she retorted. Suddenly feeling eyes on her, Cho Jia turned to see Xingke looking at her guiltily, freezing momentarily before awkwardly averting their gazes and hurrying off. Cho Jia silently chuckled, prompting Jing Hao to ask, "What's with you, Jia? Are you feeling bashful? Lost in your own reverie?" Cho Jia quickly shut him down. Forget it. Is your head only filled with garbage thoughts, yellow-haired idiot? Afterward, Cho Jia asked who posted the article. Jing Hao revealed it was Zhou Menzia from the adjacent class, often seen as Xiaoli's lackey, constantly stirring up trouble online. Analyzing the picture angle, Jia Xingke realized it was taken by a classmate. Cho Jia corrected his name, emphasizing it was Xingke, not Jia. Damn, you're right. You mentioned Xingke, not Jia. Jing Hao exclaimed, surprised. Cho Jia improvised, claiming the teacher had stressed the importance of unity and affection toward classmates. When did you start listening to the teacher? Jing Hao scoffed. Cho Jia smirked, offering no response, then suggested they go ahead separately. Jing Hao hastily asked, didn't you say you wanted to play basketball later? Why the sudden change of plans? It turned out Cho Jia wanted to follow Xingke. Grandma, don't worry. The school and classmates treat me well. You don't need to pick me up. I'm almost home. Yes, it's just a few minutes from school, very close. You just stay at home and wait for me, the polite girl spoke on the phone. Cho Jia watched Xingke preparing to enter the alley where she was standing. Suddenly, she overheard a conversation from two people nearby. You don't care. This area is safe, and there are plenty of facilities around. After seeing so many houses, I only like this place, one said. Cho Jia walked away, silently agreeing. Indeed, such a beautiful princess like her should live in a place like this. Then she overheard them again, you know the difference between your house and mine is like night and day. You're a wealthy heiress, and I'm just a poor laborer at the bottom of society. We're not from the same world. 8 years ago, in Haishang, even in such cold weather, one still had to beg on the streets. This little child looked so pitiful, judging by his appearance, it seemed neither of his parents were around. We can help him as much as we can, someone said. Hey! Look, husband! On the big screen across the street, they're showing the city's children's ballet competition that I once judged. At that moment, Cho Jia looked up at the screen to see a little princess introducing herself. My name is Xingke, hoping everyone likes me. He had never thought he would meet her in this lifetime, let alone that she had moved from Haisheng to here. The next evening, Cho Jia still stood on that street corner, just to catch a glimpse of Xingke. From inside, a voice spoke, little one, later we'll go to the supermarket to buy some snacks. Grandma will buy some meat and vegetables, too. Yes, thank you, Grandma. Recognizing this voice, Cho Jia turned back. So, later, when you come back, we'll make dumplings together, the voice continued. No need, Grandma, you don't have to. Now that I'm in 12th grade, studying is the hardest part. I'll come home early to rest, and tomorrow you can make dumplings yourself. Cho Jia felt happy inside, the little fairy lived a very happy life. It's great. The next day, people saw Cho Jia and whispered to each other, isn't that Cho Jia, the famous special student of our school? Truly. He's so famous, but still skips class and comes to school so early. Surprisingly, Cho Jia approached a male student and slammed his head against the wall. He was also angry and growled, do you want to fight so early in the morning? The boy quickly realized it was Cho Jia and trembled, Jia, I didn't mean to offend you just now. Let's talk slowly. Cho Jia asked him to take out his phone and open the photo album. His hands and feet trembled, he thought, Cho Jia is a notorious figure in school. He doesn't leave any room for retreat, with an extreme and cruel personality. Right now, if I stand firm against him, I'll be the one suffering the most. Cho Jia snatched the phone containing Xingke's photos. He explained, these photos, I didn't mean to sneakily take them. I just thought they looked beautiful, so. Trash. Immediately, Cho Jia punched him in the face like a bolt from the blue. Tell me, how many photos of her are in your phone? Just a few in the album, he replied. Cho Jia frowned. Are they backed up? Did you send them to anyone else? His face turned pale as he stammered, no backup, no sending to anyone else, but I posted them. I don't know if anyone else saved them or not. In front of me, delete every single one, and delete the post too, Jia ordered. Then he trembled as he raised his phone to delete. Jia, look, I've deleted both the photos and the post. Please forgive me for my petty actions, Cho Jia pleaded, grabbing the boy's collar to intimidate him. Don't tease Xingku. If there's a next time, I'll beat you to death. Pushing him aside, Cho Jia walked away. The boy muttered under his breath, what a crazy guy. Isn't he just a girl? Does he really need to act like this? At that moment, Wu Wu also expressed annoyance. It's infuriating. How can there be such despicable people on the school forum? Xingku, puzzled, asked Wu Wu to show him. But by then, the post had been deleted. Wu Wu's mood changed, and she smiled, saying, it's nothing. I just saw in a post, it was all a bunch of foolish pictures, but the post has been deleted. Suddenly, I feel much better. Ha ha. Xingku advised, don't pay attention to the online comments. Many people, when they hold a keyboard, don't realize how hurtful their words can be. Getting angry at them isn't worth it. Passing by Cho Jia's classroom, Xingku whispered to himself, he's not in class today? At noon, after school, Xingku brought the shirt from yesterday to Cho Jia's classroom. When she arrived at the door, she called out to her classmate Jinghao, classmate Xingku. Call me Xingku, she corrected, then asked, do you know where Cho Jia is? I came to return his shirt. But Jia didn't come to school today. I called to check on him for you, Jinghao explained. After making the call, Xingku found out that Cho Jia was in the garage. She told Jinghao she didn't need the shirt anymore and not to look for him. Jinghao then said, oh, Jia said he doesn't need the shirt anymore, so don't look for him. But since she had already promised to return it today, why suddenly not need it anymore? She thought to herself. Was it because he got into a fight with someone else and didn't want to see me? Or maybe Cho Jia still doesn't like me? She remembered Cho Jia saying in a past life, I haven't had a chance to cleanse myself to stand before you with a clean soul. If there's another life, I really want to stand clean under the sun, with a deep love for the girl I cherish. She suddenly realized that perhaps in a past life, he felt he wasn't good enough, so he always buried this feeling deep down. Regardless of the reason, Cho Jia, in this life, I'll take the initiative to get closer to you. She forgot to ask Jinghao for his phone number, but it's okay, she thought, everything was still possible now. During the evening self-study session, after school, Xingku stood by to wait for the bus. It was dark, so she was afraid to go alone. Cho Jia still stood behind, silently protecting her. She felt someone looking at her, but when she turned around, there was no one there. After a while, the bus arrived, and Cho Jia also got on, sitting at the back of the bus. Although the post had been deleted, she couldn't let her guard down. After all, before it was deleted, there were still many mocking comments directed at her. Cho Jia followed her until she arrived home before feeling at ease and turning away. But unexpectedly, she encountered Xia Li's group. Taking advantage of the opportunity, they intended to beat Cho Jia to teach him a lesson. Cho Jia laughed mockingly at them, thinking that if he didn't fight this group, he wouldn't be able to endure. But he couldn't let them cause trouble in Xingku's neighborhood, so he intentionally ran to a suitable place before making a move. Xia Li sneered at Cho Jia, thinking he had fled. He's scared now, quickly chase him. Coward, if you're good, don't run. On the other side, Xingku heard the commotion and turned back, seeing a familiar figure swiftly passing by. Xia Li chased after him, shouting, Hey, Cho Jia, aren't you supposed to be brave? If you're good, don't run. She saw many people chasing after him, even mentioning Cho Jia's name. She followed them, almost bumping into a truck in her haste, losing sight of them. She suddenly remembered that Wu Wu had a good relationship with the boy next to Cho Jia. If she could contact him, she might be able to find Cho Jia. Thinking quickly, she called Wu Wu, I have something urgent. Could you please ask Xingjing for me, for Jinghao's phone number, class 6? Then Jinghao called Xingku. She answered quickly, sorry for calling you so late and bothering you. Can you contact Cho Jia? I just saw Xiaoli leading many people chasing after him, but after I chased them to Hoashin Street, at the intersection with Swanan Street, I didn't see them anymore. Jinghao said, first, don't worry, I'll immediately contact Jia. You stay outside and be safe. At this time, Xiaoli's group caught up with Cho Jia. They were panting heavily and said, Cho Jia, you little brat. You can run pretty well. You ran through so many intersections and deliberately came to this secluded alley. Should I praise you for being smart or call you stupid? Unexpectedly quick as lightning, Cho Jia swiftly turned around and kicked Xiaoli's leg, causing him to fall flat on his face. Cho Jia grabbed him and delivered a punch that twisted his face. Xiaoli's friends watched their leader being beaten and urged each other, damn. If he keeps getting beaten like this, Li will die. Come on, let's help. One of them asked, why aren't you going? To which he replied, Cho Jia, just by looking at him, you can tell he's ruthless. I'll rush in to help find death, huh? After delivering a solid blow to Xiaoli, Cho Jia asked, impressed yet? Xiaoli, how many times have you been hit, and you still dare to provoke me? Next time, I won't be so gentle. Li arrogantly retorted, if you're so tough, why don't you kill me with your punches? Cho Jia shouted, do you really think I won't? But at that moment, a car arrived honking loudly. They yelled, the police are here. Run! Inside the car, someone turned and asked, boss, it's Jia Young Master. Do you know the person opposite? Just now, I glimpsed and thought it was their Xiaoli, but I've never seen the others before. Let's leave it for tomorrow, the boss said. If it's the Xie family, go there and talk to them. Don't just focus on business, even family members must be managed. If you're too busy to manage, Wen Zhao, I can help a bit. Later, Cho Jia sat in the park when Jinghao and another good friend of Cho Jia's, Jinjing, rushed over, shouting, fuck. Xingke called and said you were surrounded by a bunch of people, scaring her to death. But the result is you're sitting here leisurely smoking. Cho Jia asked in surprise, she saw that? Jinjing sat down and put his arm around Cho Jia. Well, here's the thing. Tonight, a friend of mine suddenly asked me for Jinghao's phone number. As soon as she heard a girl's voice, she thought it was one of Hao's girlfriends, so she gave her the number. Jinghao also interjected, who knows, as soon as the phone connected, she heard Xingke anxiously saying that she saw you being chased by a group of people. Cho Jia raised an eyebrow and asked, why was she so anxious when she told you? Oh, she was worried about you. She saw you in danger, so without thinking, she chased after you, Jinjing explained. Just then, Xingke called Jinghao. He answered and chuckled, a new classmate just called. Do you want to listen? Cho Jia told him to go ahead and listen, saying to her, tell her she's so wrong. I'm sleeping at home. Tell her not to bother me. I crawled out of bed and ran to Zwanan and Hoashin streets looking for you all day. Huh? You're sleeping at home? But just now, I thought I heard that group yelling your name. Cho Jia asked. Oh, you must have heard wrong. If Jia was really being surrounded and attacked, wouldn't I have rushed to the rescue already? Why would I have the time to answer your call? Zheng Hao responded. Right, then. Can you take a picture and send it to me? I really want to see him too, she requested. Okay. Jia likes sleeping naked, I'll take a picture for you to see. Zheng Hao chuckled mischievously. No, 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 no. Just confirming he's okay is enough. Don't take any more pictures, Cho Jia insisted. Zheng Hao continued teasing, really? No need for a picture? My friend Jia here even has an 8-pack abs. Cho Jia pinched him hard, signaling him to stop teasing her. Haha, okay, Jia is really fine. He even said it's too late now. You haven't slept, huh? Are you always waiting for his news? Zheng Hao asked. Yeah, I'm afraid something might happen to him, so I couldn't sleep. It's embarrassing, bothering you even at this hour. Can you give me Jia's phone number? She pouted. You ask him yourself, she huffed, annoyed. I don't usually see him anyway. Cho Jia felt a bit flattered by her reaction. Was she pouting because she couldn't meet him, longing for him? Jinghao promised Xingke he would tell Jia to come to school tomorrow, then bid farewell. Thank you so much for calling multiple times tonight. To express my apologies, I'll bring you breakfast tomorrow when we meet, okay? Cho Jia felt delighted by Jinghao's assurance that Jia would come to school tomorrow. Jinghao then turned to ask, why is this girl so excited after hearing Jia is coming to school tomorrow? Jing teased, isn't it obvious? She likes my Jia. Jinghao hesitated and asked, will he come to school tomorrow? Cho Jia stood up and said, nope. Indeed, it was strange. Just now, they clearly saw Jia looking very cheerful. They even thought he wanted to go to school tomorrow. Cho Jia suddenly remembered they had a basketball game in the evening. Jinghao pondered, why would I need to wake you up at 5:30 for an evening basketball game? Indeed, it was strange. For the past year, no matter who invited Jia, he never participated in competitions. Why did he suddenly agree now? Meanwhile, Shinku intentionally arrived late for breakfast to avoid it getting cold. She entered the classroom and, seeing Cho Jia, whispered happily to herself, great, he really came. Then she walked over to him. Cho Jia squinted at Shinku. As soon as she entered, he stood up and asked, what's up? She glanced at Cho Jia from head to toe and secretly sighed with relief, he's not injured. It seems I really mistook last night. This is the breakfast I brought for you and Jinghao. Thanks for helping me out yesterday, she said, handing him the shirt from the previous day. This made him blush, his heart pounding. A classmate noticed and teased Cho Jia, you got him. You've already won this beautiful flower. You even personally brought breakfast. Cho Jia immediately threw a book at him, threatening to step on his clean mouth. She took the breakfast and told Shinku, all right, you should quickly go back to your class. Shinku hesitated to leave and asked for Cho Jia's phone number. He coldly turned away. I'll ask Jinghao for your phone number later and send you a message, he said. At that moment, the teacher walked in and noticed Shinku, a student from class 6, sitting where Cho Jia usually sat. She walked over and asked, Shinku, why aren't you in your class? Hurry back. You're not like the others. You transferred here to study diligently. The principal specifically instructed to take care of you a bit more, as being around students like him, Cho Jia, might affect your performance. This 12th grade year is crucial. Don't let someone like him affect your future. Cho Jia heard all of this, but he actually agreed with the teacher. They were not from the same social class. But Shinku didn't see it that way. She politely replied, Teacher, Cho Jia is actually a very nice person. I've experienced many things since transferring here. At this point, Jinghao's eyes lit up like stars as he looked at the food in front of him, then turned to ask if it was brought by Shinku. Just then, he was also hungry, but Cho Jia insisted it was his, and not to touch it. There are 2 portions. Shinku said we each get one. They're both mine. Jia became like a greedy child. So what did you eat? You were dragged out of bed at 5:30 by me, and now you're about to faint from hunger. Immediately, Cho Jia handed Hao the sandwich he had prepared. Damn, Jia, you dog. You're heartless. Fine, the sandwich is yours. It's better than an empty stomach. When Cho Jia stood up, Jinghao asked, where are you going, Jia? Jia replied, I'll be back for the basketball game. In the evening? So you came early just for breakfast? At this moment, the teacher's words echoed in Cho Jia's mind, don't spend too much time with unique students like Cho Jia. He might affect you. You're not like each other. Don't let someone like him affect your future. Cho Jia truly felt inferior, thinking, perhaps I'd been destined to only look up to him. After school, when Shinku went to find him, Jinghao surprised her by saying that Cho Jia had left for a self-study session in the morning. I don't know why he suddenly left. But he said he'll be back for the basketball game tonight. All right, thanks, she replied. She had waited the whole morning, so why would he leave like that? In Shinku's impression, Cho Jia wasn't someone who broke promises. Could it be because he overheard what Miss Zhang said to her, causing him to step back? Shinku reassured herself, it's okay, he's sensitive like that. I'll be more proactive. So, Cho Jia, don't avoid me anymore, okay? Meanwhile, at the gym for the basketball game, Wu Wu told Shinku, little dove, this basketball game has gathered all the handsome guys in our school, especially Cho Jia over there. He didn't participate in any basketball games all semester, but unexpectedly, he's here now. Shinka turned to Wu Wu and asked, Cho Jia, didn't he used to dislike playing basketball? Wu replied, probably not. It's just that Cho Jia seems mysterious all day long. Every time we see him, it's very rare. And when I look at the entire basketball court, I don't smell the maturity on Cho Jia like I do on other students. Strange, isn't it? He doesn't seem like a regular student. Wu Wu whispered to Xingku that Cho Jia, his personality is not good, especially aggressive. But he looks handsome. Just admire his appearance. Don't get too involved with someone like him. Xingku told Wu Wu, Cho Jia is actually good, don't say that about him. But Wu was too busy watching the game. Oh! Little Dove, did you see the guy in the white jersey? That's our school's heartthrob, Shu Ji. After observing for a while, Xingke said, that guy is the heartthrob? I feel like he's not as handsome as Cho Jia. Wu Wu frowned at Xingke, why do you keep mentioning Cho Jia? What's going on between you two? Xingke laughed nervously, haha, nothing. You brought it up first. I was just answering your question. Then Wu Wu also looked and compared, you're right. Cho Jia's face might be more handsome, but Shu Ji's overall package is good. He comes from a good family, looks handsome, and has good grades. This heartthrob definitely has positive energy and youthful vitality. At this point, everyone sitting beside Xingke cheered loudly for Shu Ji, go, Shu Ji. So Cho Jia thought, Xingke is here to see Shu Ji, and if she wants Shu Ji to win, then I might as well lose. Immediately, Cho Jia let go of the ball in his hand, and Shu Ji quickly grabbed it, scoring points for the opposing team. Everyone cheered, well done, Shu Ji. They finally caught up with Cho Jia's team's score. Jing Hao felt uneasy and asked Cho Jia, are you lost in thought? At this moment, Xingke passed by to cheer for Cho Jia and shouted, Cho Jia, keep it up. Cho Jia blushed for a moment, then quickly regained his composure and continuously stole the ball from Shu Ji and scored. Xingke watched excitedly, feeling embarrassed but admired, Cho Jia is so handsome. He even made a direct three-point shot over Shu Ji. Wu Wu became annoyed, thinking, could it be true? Is the little dove really interested in Cho Jia? Just as her bubble tea was delivered, Wu Wu picked up her phone and asked the delivery person to leave it outside, she would come out now. Xingke watched Cho Jia play and silently thought, how could her teenage years have any hint of maturity? Clearly just a self-conscious teenager, extremely lacking in a sense of security. The girls outside continued to cheer for Shu Ji, go, Shu Ji. Shu Ji is the best. Cho Jia turned to them, raising an eyebrow, his eyes sharp as knives, making them immediately quiet down, sweating. Xingke chuckled and murmured, he may lack in temperament, but someone without patience, with such a fiery temper, and yet could take care of his grandmother so carefully in a past life, is truly admirable. His unusual spirit made Jing Hao hesitate, and the opponent looked at him with sinister intentions. Then they shouted and aggressively pushed Jing Hao, causing him to stumble. Xingke panicked and shouted, but luckily Cho Jia caught him in time. Phew! Thanks, Jia, I'm fine. Cho Jia's teammates approached the guy who deliberately pushed Jing Hao, hey, you can't be afraid of losing like that. If you can't play, then resorting to dirty tricks. Do you know he could get hurt like that? Exactly. Apologize quickly, apologize and let's consider this matter settled. Everyone said so, but he argued back, why should I apologize? It's obvious he couldn't stand steady on his feet. Damn! Shameless liar, how dare you stand here and lie to our faces? The argument escalated even further. What? Based on what? If you have the guts, check the security cameras. At this point, Cho Jia grabbed the ball and threw it with all his strength directly at that guy's face, causing him to stagger. Cho Jia pointed at him and shouted, apologize to Jing Hao. Xingke immediately ran over to Cho Jia to intervene. People whispered to each other, Cho Jia is fighting, why is that transfer student trying to stop him? Won't she get involved and end up fighting too? Why is she getting involved in a fight between boys? Does she want to attract the attention of the boys? Maybe she doesn't understand Cho Jia's temperament. No one dares to stop Cho Jia when he's fighting. Let's see if that transfer student gets thrown by Cho Jia. Ha ha. Shinku stood in front of Cho Jia and said, the head of your team member was hit hard. Why don't you quickly take him to the medical room for a checkup? The audience discussed more vigorously, what? She dared to directly grab Cho Jia's hand. The important thing is that Cho Jia didn't get angry. It seems that this transfer student has some backbone. Even Cho Jia can control himself now. She turned to Cho Jia and said, Cho Jia, can you please stop fighting? She thought to herself, even if he wins the fight, it doesn't guarantee he won't get hurt later. Cho Jia looked at her, his face red as a tomato, his heart pounding continuously. Shinku looked at Cho Jia earnestly, can you? Cho Jia nodded reluctantly. Then the match paused with an announcement. Due to a player being injured on the field today, they have decided to temporarily stop the match. The specific time for the match will be announced later. People expressed their discomfort. Cho Jia, what are they doing? A good game ruined like this. Wu Wu exclaimed, I just went out to get bubble tea, and the match is over. Surprisingly, she saw Shinku running to Cho Jia and yelled, let go of Shinku. Stop bullying her. Cho Jia looked at Wu Wu and asked, which eye of yours saw me bullying her? You're always aggressive, bullying others. Shinku is kind-hearted, she's a good student, don't tease her. Jinjing stepped forward and grabbed Wu Wu's shoulder, we're not bullying her, what nonsense are you talking about? Shinku also explained that Cho Jia wasn't bullying her, it was actually her stepping forward. Wu Wu, you should go back first, I have something to discuss with Cho Jia. Wu Wu whispered to Shinku, asking what he had to say to him. Weren't they from different worlds? Wu Wu, don't say that. Cho Jia is actually very nice. Wu Wu, I know you're worried about me, but rest assured, Cho Jia won't bully me. Besides, Jinjing is here, he won't let anyone bully Wu Wu's friend, right, Jinjing? Jinjing affirmed that. Alright, I'll go back now. If he causes you any trouble, remember to call me immediately. I'll come back as quickly as possible. Then Cho Jia signaled for Jinghao and Jinjing to leave, then turned to Shinku and asked, what do you want to say to me? I've been waiting all day for you to text me, didn't you say you would? Cho Jia, I want to be friends with you, can I? Cho Jia looked surprised, she wanted to be friends with him? But she was a good student, a pure little fairy, someone like him really shouldn't influence her. Cho Jia began to feel insecure and pretended to be arrogant, asking, why, do you like me? Shinku didn't hesitate and said, yes. Once again, she made Cho Jia blush. Cho Jia leaned closer and asked, do you like me? Shinku tensed up and stepped back, and Cho Jia approached, pressing her against the wall, intentionally acting like a rascal, don't like me? What are you avoiding? She was so confused, hesitant to speak. Cho Jia continued to threaten, are you afraid and still want to be friends with me? But surprisingly, Shinku enthusiastically said, who's afraid? I want to be friends with you. Because she secretly thought that Cho Jia wouldn't harm her. Cho Jia then threatened, alright, then you have to kiss me once so I can taste if it's sweet or not beforehand. Shinku was shocked and embarrassed, kiss her? This situation is hard to handle. Cho Jia turned away and said, if you won't kiss, then I'll leave. Shinku immediately pulled him back and kissed him on the cheek, mwah, which left Cho Jia stunned, her heart stopping for a moment. Shinku asked, is it sweet? Cho Jia blushed and turned away, emotionally overwhelmed, and lied, not sweet. I'm leaving, wasting my time. Once again, Shinku pulled Cho Jia's sleeve, pleading, then, tomorrow, I'll eat a little more sugar, and you'll let me kiss you again, then you can taste it again, okay? Cho Jia seemed to go crazy, thinking he wanted to cling to her. Could she find an excuse like that? Shinku shook his sleeve, insisting, causing Cho Jia to stiffen, unable to look at her. She blurted out some harsh words, Shinku, do you know saying these things to a boy will cause misunderstandings? If you helped me out that day and want to repay me in this way, I don't want it, and don't talk like this to any other boy, you'll be the one who suffers. Hearing that, Shinku reluctantly let go of his sleeve. Cho Jia said, I don't need you to repay me for anything. I also don't like girls who are too good like you. In the future, stay away from me a little. After saying this, Cho Jia walked away. The next morning, Shinku messaged Jinghao, I'm really sorry for bothering you yesterday. Could you please tell Cho Jia that I brought breakfast for her? It's homemade dumplings that I learned to make from my grandma. Thank you. At this point, Jinghao relayed the message to Cho Jia, but he was curious and asked, why didn't you give the little missy your phone number? Look, she brought breakfast for you again, and they're homemade dumplings. Cho Jia pondered. She thought that after speaking harshly to her yesterday, it might make her change her mind and focus on studying diligently, completely avoiding him. But today, she still wanted to see him. Jinghao asked what she was thinking. Was Jia still coming to school today? Cho Jia said she wasn't going and climbed onto her motorcycle. But current him was not worthy to stand in front of her. Being with him only gave teachers and classmates a bad impression of her, and even led to ostracism. So, he had to try to earn money, try to make himself outstanding. Only then could he have the confidence to stand beside her. Meanwhile, Shinka sat dejectedly, waiting all day but still no sign of him. Feeling lost and miserable, he didn't know that Cho Jia had been secretly following her from a distance to protect her. Shinka choked back tears, and Cho Jia felt heartbroken, wondering why she was crying. Could someone be bullying her at school? After a while, the bus stopped at the station, and Cho Jia silently boarded and sat in the back seat as usual. Suddenly, she heard someone shouting, Cho Jia, you're a coward, a coward, a coward. You're nothing but a coward. Cho Jia sat behind, feeling uncomfortable and murmuring. Was she angry because he didn't come to school this morning and ate her breakfast? But Shinku immediately regained his composure and looked around, while Cho Jia hurriedly buried her face, avoiding his gaze. She whispered to herself, why did she always feel like someone was staring at her? Cho Jia reminded herself that he shouldn't get too close in the future, otherwise, it would be troublesome if he was discovered. A few days later, on the weekend, she sat with her grandmother watching TV, feeling dejected and sighed. It had been a week since she last went to school. She didn't know what he was doing now. She picked up her phone and browsed social media when her eyes suddenly lit up. Jinghao posted on social media that they were playing billiards. She was excited, finally, she had a chance to meet him. She turned to her grandmother and said, Wu just asked me to go out for a walk at the night market, can I go with her? I'll be back soon, it won't be too late, okay? Her grandmother smiled kindly and advised her to go out with her friend, it's good to remember to come back early. At this moment, at the billiards place, Shinku was wearing a sexy outfit, his slender figure seductive, his tiny waist exposed as he walked over. If Cho Jia had said she didn't like good girls that day, she would change her style to get closer to him. Jing Hao looked exhausted. I'm so tired. Jin Jing laughed mockingly. I told you I'd make you cry, but the result is just this. Jing Hao stood up angrily. Jia, this brat is really arrogant. Jia, can you help me get revenge? What's so attractive about her phone? What are you so engrossed in? Oh, watching a new friend, huh? This sneaky behavior isn't like you. Then Jinghao exclaimed in surprise, today, a hot girl showed up. Fuck. It's Xingku. She. Even in this outfit, it's quite surprising. Cho Jia also looked at her in astonishment. Why did she come dressed like that? Doesn't she know it's dangerous? Even the men seeing Shinku couldn't help but say inappropriate things like, look at those thighs, they must be fascinating if they were put on someone's shoulders, huh? Suddenly, a guy with pink hair blocked her way and teased, is the beauty looking for someone? Just tell me, I know everyone here. Shinku frowned. Thank you for finding me. He teased back, dressed like that, aren't you here to find men? Pretending to be decent for what? Are you a man or just playing with one? What I wear is my business. What does it have to do with you? You're spending money on clothes now? Please step aside a bit. Humph. I'm not stepping aside today. What can you do? He grabbed her hand and pulled her closer. Ha! Today, I want to play with you. Whether you agree or not, you have to agree. Immediately, a billiard ball flew straight to his stomach, and he clutched his abdomen. If it had been a little lower, his two small balls would have been crushed. He fell backward and shouted, damn it! Who dares to hit me? Cho Jia stepped forward and asked, you want to play, huh? Then today, I'm here to play with you. Fuck! Who are you to talk like that? He rushed forward, but Cho Jia kicked him, and he fell flat on his face. Cho Jia pulled Xingku over to Jinghao, telling him to watch over her, and then she went to pull the guy up. She punched him in the face once, then again. He asked, "What does her outfit have to do with you? You bastard! You're hopeless." Cho Jia tightened her fist and punched him directly in the face with all her might. Meanwhile, outside, Xingku told Jinghao to come inside for a moment. It had been too long. Just as Jinghao was about to go in, Cho Jia opened the door and came out. He cracked his fingers and called out to him. Xingku panicked and ran over, exclaiming, "You're injured, let me take you to the hospital." Surprisingly, Cho Jia picked her up neatly and told Jinghao to hand her a coat to cover her face. Then she turned back and instructed, "You two continue playing. I have something to take care of first." So, Cho Jia carried her to Mrs. Zhang's clothing store. "Oh! Xiao Jia is here. I'm sorry, it's so late, and I'm bothering you," Jia said politely. "Don't be shy. Is this your girlfriend, Xiao Jia? Then, feel free to choose any clothes here. Whatever you pick, I'll give it to you as a gift. Choose whatever you like, I'll continue watching the movie here, haha." Xingku was unexpectedly moved to tears. Cho Jia, seeing this, told her not to cry, saying she didn't know how to comfort others. Xingku lowered her head in self-blame, "I'm not crying. I just feel useless and causing more trouble for you. I'm sorry, Cho Jia, I was acting recklessly today." Cho Jia gently wiped away her tears and comforted her, "No need to apologize, it's okay, I'm here. Don't worry." Then she asked her to pick out a new outfit. Xingku asked, "Do you not like the dress I'm wearing?" Cho Jia stood up and scolded her, "Why did you come to the billiard hall dressed like this today? Don't you know it's dangerous? If I hadn't been there or if no one had come to save you, have you ever thought about the consequences?" Xingku said, "I came to find you. I deliberately came to find you. If you weren't there, I wouldn't have come." Cho Jia looked at her in surprise and asked, "Why did you?" She interrupted and asked, "It's been days since you've been to school. I saw Jinghao's post on his friend's circle saying you were at the billiard hall, so I came there." Cho Jia blushed, feeling embarrassed that no one cared whether he went to school or not, but she did. Then he asked, "Why did you look for me?" Xingku straightforwardly said, "Because I missed you. You kept disappearing, and it was hard to find you." Cho Jia was flustered, her heart pounding. Xingku continued, "That day you said you didn't like well-rounded female students, so I thought maybe you liked girls with a wild side now, so I dressed like this to meet you." Cho Jia was extremely surprised, "Just because I said one thing you didn't like, you dressed like this?" She smiled gently and nodded in agreement. Cho Jia turned away, feeling annoyed, "Then I don't like your outfit either. If I say I like nothing, will you strip naked?" Xingku stepped on Cho Jia's foot, "You naughty little thing, don't joke like that. I just talked to you like that, aren't you angry?" Jia asked, staring at her. Xingku replied hesitantly, feeling a bit embarrassed, "I'm not angry, just a little embarrassed." "Xingku, don't lose yourself like that. You'll only end up unhappy." After saying that, Cho Jia thought that his little fairy should maintain a high profile, be cherished in the palm of someone's hand, not like now, throwing away boundaries and principles because of him. Xingku happily assured her that she wouldn't make him unhappy. Cho Jia looked shy and adorable once again. She said, "Shall we go outside? It's awkward to talk about this here. No need to buy clothes anymore. Before coming here, I put another outfit in the supermarket downstairs in the billiard room. Will you come with me to see?" "Oh, right, wait a moment, I'll go out and buy some antiseptic cream, your hand needs to be treated a bit." Cho Jia reassured her, "Don't worry, this blood isn't mine." Immediately, he picked her up, saying, "There are many students from Yizhong school around here. If someone sees you dressed like this, you'll be the hot topic at school tomorrow. Go change your clothes, I'll wait for you at the door. The coat will be taken down after you change." Xingku hesitated and said, "You have to wait for me, as a man, I must keep my word. You can't run away." Cho Jia promised happily that she wouldn't run away, feeling relieved, she went to change her clothes. Shortly after, she came out wearing a pure white dress. Cho Jia asked why she was so quick. She laughed and said, "I was afraid you'd wait too long." Cho-jia took the clothes from her hands and said, "Throw this away. I'll buy you another set of clothes, and in the future, don't dress like this to attract those hoodlums." She asked, "It's easy to attract hoodlums like you, isn't it? If so, I still want to wear it. I want to tease you." After walking for a while, Shinka said to Cho-jia, "Thank you for protecting me today." Cho-jia indifferently asked, "Just a thank you?" She hesitated, "Or, should I charge you for protecting you?" He leaned close to her and whispered, "My protection fee is very expensive." She immediately rummaged through her purse. "I only have this much now. I have a monthly allowance of only 1,000 renminbi, and now I still have 500 left. Cho-jia grabbed it. "Okay, tomorrow you bring the remaining 500 renminbi to me." Shinka sighed and muttered to himself, "Why is this person so shameless?" She got angry and said, "Have I already given you all my money? Tomorrow at noon, I won't have money to buy lunch at school anymore. Can you leave me 100 dong?" Cho-jia couldn't help but chuckle at her pitiful expression. "You don't have to give it all to me," Shinka pleaded. "Then I'll starve to death," she begged. "You won't starve to death. From now on, you'll eat with me," Jia firmly assured her. Shinka rejoiced inwardly, knowing that eating together meant she would come to school on time every day, and we would be able to see each other regularly. "Okay, so remember to come to school tomorrow, and I'll bring you," she agreed. Then they went out to Cho-jia's motorcycle. Shinka felt embarrassed and awkward, saying she didn't have money to call a ride home. Cho-jia handed her a helmet to put on and said, "I'll take you home. If I accepted payment, I have to make sure you get home safely." Shinka asked if there was only one helmet. Since he always rode alone, wouldn't one helmet be enough? "So you're not going to wear one, Cho-jia? From now on, you should get another helmet." "I also want to wear one," she said, pointing to his head and suggesting he buy one the same color as his hair, a very nice color. Cho-jia thought that many people hated this hair color before, feeling like he was a troublemaking teenager. From the beginning of the story until now, he didn't seem like a poor guy at all. As she sat behind him, she worried about his driving skills. Would he drive so fast that she would be thrown off? Or should she hug him? Without waiting for his consent, she just hugged him, making him extremely embarrassed. But it was really great. Even though she wanted to hug him, she used many tricks to hug his waist, pretending it was for safety. Cho-jia teased, "Little lady, are you thinking about taking over my body?" she boldly asked. "Can I take it over?" Surprised, Cho-jia panicked and exclaimed, "Sit still. We're approaching a curve." "Cho-jia, you looked so handsome just now. You're really cool." Cho-jia worried that if she praised her again, then teased her again, he wouldn't be able to hold back. So she said, "Stop at the intersection ahead for a moment. I live at Zwanan intersection. Can I go with you?" Cho-jia suddenly slammed on the brakes, startling her. "What did you just say? You want to go with me?" Jia asked again. She nervously waited for Cho-jia's consent. After a while, Cho-jia agreed to her request. When Shinka got out of the car, Cho-jia supported her. As she got off, she kissed Cho-jia on the cheek and said, "I've been eating candy every day these past few days. Do you feel a bit sweeter now?" She pointed at Cho-jia's cheek. "Do you want to taste it again? Sweet enough?" Cho-jia was surprised. She had only casually said a few words before, but she didn't expect her to really pay attention. Cho-jia admitted, "Sweet, it's so sweet that it's driving me crazy." Shinka said, "Then you have to keep your promise. At the basketball court before, you said if it was sweet, you'd be friends with me. If we're friends, we have to keep in touch, and you can't disappear at will, making it impossible for friends to find you." Surprisingly, Cho-jia lifted her up. "Okay, little friend, let's go." Then they had a motorcycle that worked well, but preferred to walk, just like that. Shinka pulled Cho-jia's jacket. "You're walking too fast, I'm almost left behind." Cho-jia looked at her suspiciously, realizing it wasn't because he was going fast, but rather the little friend was finding an excuse to slow him down. "If you keep being proactive like this, I won't let you off the hook," he warned. But as he was about to say something else to her, he noticed her pitiful face, which made him feel sorry for her. He said, "No big deal." She smiled and asked, "Cho-jia, how old are you?" Cho-jia asked, "Darling, where?" Hearing him call her darling made her blush, and then she exclaimed, "I'm only a year younger than you, don't think otherwise." "What am I thinking?" Jia teased her. She got annoyed thinking about his strange expression just now, clearly having some weird thoughts. "So how old are you exactly?" 17? Then I remember the legal age for a boy to get married is 22, right? She looked at Cho Jia seriously and said, "So if you want to see me without clothes, you'll have to wait another 3 years. Ha ha. Her persuasion skills had reached cosmic levels. "Didn't you say you like me without clothes? So you have to wait until we get married." Cho Jia put his hand on her forehead. "Are you babbling like this? Are you feverish or something?" She pouted and turned red, pushing Cho Jia's hand away. "You were drugged just now. Don't you have confidence in yourself? I can't plan to marry you just because I like you." Cho Jia was taken aback, becoming flustered. "I only said that before. You don't need to take it seriously." "Jia, are you so casual with me? Did you say this to another girl too?" Cho Jia quickly explained, "No, I only said it to you, really." With just these words from him, she became radiant, saying she would trust him, and she only said those things to him. She recalled what they said earlier at the clothing store. "You asked if I was angry? I said no, but only to you. If someone else said such nonsense, I would definitely report it to the police and say I was being harassed." Cho Jia put his arm around her, lifting her chin, and said, "Little lady, do you know how to flirt like that? You've been flirting for a while now." Cho Jia hugged her, saying, "Shinku, if I take this relationship seriously, will you regret teasing me?" "No regrets." "Cho Jia, don't worry, I won't regret it," Xing said. Cho Jia pushed her away and shouted angrily, "Am I supposed to be scared?" Shinku burst out laughing loudly, "Not scared? Not scared? You're the most formidable. Why does she seem like she's coaxing a child?" Cho Jia wondered before regaining his composure and saying, "Okay, it's getting late, let's go home." When they arrived at the entrance to the neighborhood, they encountered some neighbors gossiping with each other. Their topic today was, "Last time I saw Mrs. Wang's daughter from the next door villa being picked up by a luxurious car. She must have seduced a wealthy young master." Huh? Can she still seduce a wealthy young master with that appearance? I don't think she's even as pretty as my daughter. Quite annoying, isn't it, moms? Cho Jia quickly stepped back and told Shinku to go ahead. After walking a bit, Cho Jia told her that he would pick her up for school tomorrow morning. She happily reminded him to keep his word. When she entered her house, her grandmother greeted her cheerfully, "Oh, you're so happy after just going out for a while? It seems like this friend of yours is really good, can make you happy anytime. Come in, I'll make something delicious for you guys." "Yes, Grandma. Whenever it's convenient, I'll bring him home to visit," Xing always politely replied to her grandmother like that. She believed her grandmother would definitely like her Cho Jia because he was really good, very good. The next morning, her phone rang rhythmically, and when she picked it up, she saw an unfamiliar number calling. She answered, "Hello, Cho Jia." Cho Jia paused, curious as to why it was the first time he called her, but she knew it was him. He asked, "How do you know it's me?" She chuckled, "Of course I know it's you. Because I can hear your breathing." "That's nonsense." "Okay, stop laughing, hurry up and get up. What do you want for breakfast?" Shinku said he wanted a sandwich, and Cho Jia went to buy it and waited for her at the neighborhood entrance. While waiting for her, Cho Jia took the opportunity to smoke a cigarette. When she ran out and asked why he was smoking so early in the morning, he should smoke less. Cho Jia hesitated, then just took a puff and threw the cigarette away. "Do you want the sandwich now?" In response to this question, she said she didn't want to eat now, she would eat after they arrived at school. Cho Jia bent down to pick up the helmet and handed it to her. Shinku thought to himself that he mentioned wanting a new helmet yesterday, and he actually bought it. But yesterday when they parted, it was already close to 9 o'clock. She then asked if he bought it during the night. Cho Jia awkwardly made up a story about buying the new helmet, saying he saw it conveniently on the way home, so he bought it. When she turned around to admire the new helmet, she saw a heart-shaped sticker on the back with the words "Only belongs to darling" written on it. Cho Jia hesitantly lied, "I didn't stick it, this helmet came with it." When I arrived, there was only one left, so I bought it. The beautiful girl smiled brightly. Oh, is that so? But secretly cursed him, it came with it, yet it's bulging like that? She already had the answer in her heart. Cho-jia felt uneasy. If you don't like it, I can buy a new one for you. Shinku said, no need, I like it. If this is something you stuck, then I like it even more. Cho-jia remembered when the helmet vendor exclaimed, oh. Turns out, it was for his girlfriend? Then he gave Cho-jia the only belongs to darling sticker. He instructed, you must stick this, I guarantee she'll really like it. At that moment, Cho-jia blushed and admitted to himself, alright, I'll stick it. Shinku didn't hear it clearly and asked again, which made him feel embarrassed. He quickly grabbed it and said, okay, put it on, we're running late. She sat in the car, delighted, and laughed. He turned back and tapped her head with the cup, telling her not to laugh. But it was too late. If he wanted that, then he shouldn't have lied. She laughed even louder. Cho-jia drove towards the school, or else they would be late. Cho-jia said they were near the school, a little further, and he said he would drop her off ahead, so she could walk in by herself. Shinku was surprised and asked why he wasn't going to school. Why not go with me? I'm going to school, but you don't have to come with me, I'll walk behind you. Shinku suddenly thought he wasn't going with her because he was worried that people would gossip about him. He was afraid that after being seen by classmates, they would have a bad impression of him. In reality, he was still very insecure, very sensitive. Cho-jia handed her the lunch bag and said before leaving, Shinku, are you scared? Cho-jia frowned and cursed silently, then said he was scared. He pushed her against the wall and threatened, say it again, who's scared? Shinku said, you're scared. Cho-jia asked, is there a flag-raising ceremony today? Can I kiss you on stage in front of the teachers and classmates? It'll prove that I'm not scared of you. Are you daring me? Cho-jia smirked, let's see. Shinku then asked, so why won't you come to school with me? Not going with you is because I want what's best for you. I don't want you to be talked about because of me. She grabbed Cho-jia's hand, I don't care about what others say. I only care about you. Suddenly, Shuji came from behind and shouted, Cho-jia, what are you doing? Classmate, is he bullying you? Don't be afraid. Cho-jia, let her go. If you dare to touch her, just try. Cho-jia, if you bully a girl, what kind of man are you? Shinku stepped forward to shield Cho-jia, no. Shuji, you misunderstood. Cho-jia didn't bully me, he just wanted to talk to me. Thank you for your concern. Then she turned to Cho-jia and said, let's go, you're running late. She turned back to Shuji with a radiant smile, we're leaving ahead of you. Shuji stood silently, glaring at them as they walked away. Cho-jia, we agreed already, you can't just disappear like that in the future. I can't lose you, she said. At that moment, the onlookers started gossiping. Look! Isn't that the new student and Cho-jia? Why are they walking together? Don't tell me they're in love? Why would she think that? And she chooses to stay with the grumpy guy. Right. If it were me, I would definitely choose a handsome, excellent, and kind boy like Shuji. Shinku asked Cho-jia, are you listening? Cho-jia replied, I know. Shinku didn't bother to pay attention and cheerfully told him to hurry up and go to class. Cho-jia looked at her and thought to himself, it seems like she really doesn't care about the gossip outside. Not only that, she's been finding reasons to come closer to me every day, even in front of Shuji, she actively protects me, but I'm always too internally insecure to respond directly to her feelings. Haha, it's deserved that she always calls me coward. The next morning in class, fuck. Jia, why are you so happy this early in the morning? Zheng Hao asked. Why? Didn't you sleep all night? Did you transform into a beast after leaving with the new classmate last night? Bam! Don't joke about her with me. Zheng Hao muttered, alright, this is the shield now. Cho-jia put her phone in her pocket and felt something, so she took it out and saw it was money that Shinku had given him. In the stack of money was a note, Cho-jia, I've spent all my living expenses on you. Now I don't have a penny on me. You must keep that promise, taking me out for a meal every day. Also, don't resist when I come close, okay? Tomorrow and unexpected events, we can't predict what will come first. I really want to spend as much time as possible with the person I like during this limited time. After reading the note, Cho Jia's face flushed. Her little friend had confessed like that. How could she let her go? Cho Jia kicked Jinghao's foot. Have you ever been in love? Yeah, for 2 months, then we broke up. So, how do girls like to experience love? Jinghao replied, they probably all like to be pampered, supported, and protected. I didn't understand love very well before, it was all about the other person taking the lead. After breaking up, she said she was tired. Now looking back, girls are emotional creatures, we have to pamper them, make them feel loved. If the girl is proactive for too long without getting a response, she'll get tired too. Cho Jia felt awkward because Xingke always avoided her when she got close. She must be very tired, very disappointed too. The bell signaling the end of the class rang. Xingke came to find Cho Jia. She was happy that Cho Jia didn't run away. Wu Wu asked, little dove, what's going on? Didn't you want to go to the bathroom? If you don't go soon, you'll have to wait in line. Shenjing suggested, the last period this morning is physical education, let's skip class and go play basketball. Jinghao eagerly agreed, yeah. Or let's not go to the next class either. Shall we go now? Jia, what do you say? Cho Jia declined, I'm not going, I have to go to class. Jinjin looked surprised, what did Jia just do? Wu Wu asked, what's going on between you and him? Can you tell me quickly? I promise not to tell anyone. Xingke pulled Cho Jia out and grabbed Wu Wu's hand to pull her away quickly. Jinghao said, what did Jia just do? Jinjing said, don't look. I didn't see anything. After running a short distance, Xingke looked back and saw Cho Jia looking at him meaningfully. Xingke blushed and muttered to himself, this kid is starting to take the initiative. At that moment, Zhao Manshu's group and her friends blocked Xingke's way. Xingke walked past quietly. Oh. She's not blind, is she? Why did she just fall into Cho Jia, the girl who introduced herself as Jia Xingke on the first day of school? Wu Wu defended, a clean person sees everything clean. If she likes Cho Jia, she should go find him herself. Why bully Xingke? Xingke grabbed her hand and said, Wu Wu, forget about them, let's go. Who are you calling dirty? They exclaimed angrily. Wu Wu turned back and glared at them, you dare to bully little dove, don't blame me for being rude. Manchu angrily retorted, wait. After entering the classroom, Wu Wu asked, hey, little dove, what's going on between you and Cho Jia? Everyone says you two came to school together this morning. When I asked you in the bathroom earlier, you avoided the question too? Xingke whispered into Wu Wu's ear, I like Cho Jia, I'm pursuing her. Hearing this, Wu Wu's mouth dropped open, her face pale, did Cho Jia threaten you? If so, you have to tell me, this kind of thing can't be tolerated. Xingke replied, she didn't threaten me, don't worry. Cho Jia is really nice, don't have prejudice against her like that. Wu Wu chuckled, okay. So? She thought if she had to find one good thing about Cho Jia, it would only be her pretty face. During break time, Zhao Manshu came to pick a fight with Xingke. I warn you to stay away from Cho Jia a bit, don't act shamelessly touching her. Once again, it was Wu Wu who spoke up, is this person crazy? Is Xingke teasing him? Coming here repeatedly to seek validation, you don't feel ashamed. Manchu raised his hand threateningly, what's it to you? If you say one more word, I'll tear your mouth apart. Xingke immediately grabbed her hand, do you dare to hit her? Manchu knocked Xingke's books off the desk, do you think I won't dare? Manchu then slapped him on the head, bang. Cho Jia walked over and said, who knocked Xingke's books? Pick them up, one by one. Manchu stammered, I. Who allowed you to cause trouble for her? Pick up the books and stack them. Manchu tried to justify, they were bullying me, pointing and scolding me. Xingke, she. Before he could finish his sentence, Cho Jia shouted, pick up the books. She hesitated and then sat down to pick them up, tears welling up in her eyes. Cho Jia, why are you favoring her like this? Cho Jia coldly replied, I'm happy. But it's obvious. She tried to add, but Cho Jia cut her off, I'll say it one last time, apologize to her. It was the harsh words that finally made her submit. Shinku, I'm sorry, I promise not to cause trouble for her again. Hope you can keep your word, Jia instructed. Then she turned and walked away. Jia said to Shinku, are you dumb? I'm right here being bullied, and you didn't even think to come find me? She explained, it happened suddenly, and I couldn't tell you. Wu muttered beside her, not really, don't say they're already in love. Fine, do whatever you want. I'll go back to class. If anything happens, just come find me, Jia instructed. Those around them whispered again, I told you, their relationship is not normal. Before, you didn't even believe this new classmate had courage. There, now you see, they're already holding hands. Jia turned to face the person who had caused so much trouble, making him startled and wanting to flee, but Jia grabbed him and pulled him away. He begged in fear, Jia, whatever you instruct, just don't hurt me. After pulling him outside, Jia said, watch over Shinku for me. If anyone in the class bullies her, let me know. If not, I'll consider you the one bullying her, and you'll face the consequences. The guy's expression went from terrified to radiant, excitedly shouting, got it. Jia, if anyone bothers Shinku, I'll be sure to inform you first. Suddenly, Jia heard a faint voice, little dove, it's break time now, and there's still plenty of time left. Want to go to the cafeteria and get some food? I don't feel like eating now, but if you want to go, I can accompany you. Jia looked at Shinku by the window and asked, what's wrong? Jia explained, I didn't mean to be fierce earlier. Shinku cheerfully replied, I know. Earlier, you were just being anxious. Wu looked at Jia in astonishment, thinking, could it be that this person is intentionally pretending to explain a little? Is this still the same devil Jia? Wu turned back, curious, forget about that, I don't want to go to the cafeteria either. Tell me about you and Jia. When did you two start? Shinku shared with a smile, it was on the first day I transferred here. Jia took the initiative to help me break free, and then we got to know each other. Later on, I found out that she's actually a very kind-hearted person, very thoughtful and considerate of others. Wu doubted the person she was talking about, was it really Jia? Was he disguising himself? Little dove, you're so beautiful, you have to be careful not to be harassed. Don't let him deceive you. Wu cautioned Shinku, but unexpectedly, he threw himself against the window, causing a thud on the table, scaring Wu. Jia said they should go to the cafeteria to buy some drinks and snacks to spend the money. I don't like eating, you go ahead and eat. Shinku laughed inwardly, thinking about how he could justify buying a bottle of water for 4 yuan and rounding it up to make a pile of snacks. Can he come up with a funnier excuse than this? Jia said, I'll be back in class. If there's anything, just come find me. If you're in class, send me a text. I'll come over any time, got it? Shinku nodded at him. Little dove, open it quickly. Shinku opened it and invited Wu, hey, here, there are some fries and pickles you like. Wu thought, 1 second ago, I was bad-mouthing Jia, and the next second, I'm eating his food. Something doesn't seem quite right. She waved her hand and said, this is bought by Jia for you, I won't eat it. Oh, he bought 2 portions, obviously one for each of us. Here, it's just you and me, Wu. Hearing that, Wu was deeply touched, stuttering, he's quite meticulous, huh? Then I won't be reserved anymore. Thank you, little dove. Oh, come on, don't be reserved like that. I hung the snacks bag here, you can help yourself to whatever you want, Shinku said. Wu thought to herself that Jia didn't seem bad either. This woman, just by buying a bag of snacks, seemed to have won them over. Is she too easygoing, friends? At least she should have needed 2 bags. After class, Jia hurriedly went to the window and looked at Shinku. He looked at her intently and whispered to himself, the little friend studies so hard, unlike me, I have to force myself to listen to the lecture all morning. The only thing I remember is class dismissed, goodbye, classmates. A while later, when Shinku leaned down on the table, Jia finally spoke up, done writing? Shinku quickly stood up, sorry, I forgot you were waiting for me to have lunch. Jia frowned at her, don't apologize to me anymore, it bothers me. Shinku pushed him away, saying, I know. You're so well behaved, Jia said, satisfied, then draped her arm around her. let's go, Big Brother will take you to a nice meal. Oh, this male lead character, he has the demeanor of a human trafficker, specializing in deceiving children. Oh. So you're a child, huh? He teased. Of course not, she retorted, unable to be deceived, not deceived. Shinka blushed, saying she didn't want to hold his hand anymore. Cho-jia asked for the reason, and she said she wanted to hold his hand. Cho-jia's heart rate soared to 200 beats per minute, her face turning red, looking faint. Cho-jia thought to herself, don't say she wants to hold hands. Even if she wants to hold on to my life, I'm willing to sacrifice. Shinka reached out her hand, waiting for his, but he was worried about being seen by the homeroom teacher, which would lead to her being scolded or having to call her parents. So it's complicated. Cho-jia put her hand in her pocket. Dream on, he teased, making her blush, muttering grumpily, if you don't want to hold hands, then don't. Just then, a teacher walked by, and Shinka pointed at him and asked seriously, did you just see that? Cho-jia leaned into her ear and whispered softly, so, little friend, endure a bit. On the way home, I'll let you hold my hand. Today, let's go to the outside restaurant, you can choose wherever you want to eat, Big Brother will take you. Shinka said, or should we eat at the school cafeteria? The food there is cheap and reasonable. Okay, let's go with your choice. Wait here, I'll go buy lunch, Cho-jia said. Shinka recalled that during this time in Beijing, there would be an English competition, with a prize of around 10,000 yuan. If she could win this prize, she could help her grandmother share the financial pressure. Back to the present, suddenly Shuji brought lunch to Shinku and asked, is anyone sitting here? Shinku immediately replied, yes, Cho-jia is buying lunch over there. He'll be here soon. Okay, then I won't sit here, Shuji said, blushing, handing her a love letter he wrote. Shinku, this is for you. I don't know what kind of relationship you and Cho-jia have now, but I still want to fight for my heart a little bit. Shinku waved her hand apologetically, I'm sorry, Shuji, I can't accept this. While Shuji was still bewildered, Shinku continued, because I don't want to accept anything from any other boy besides Cho-jia, and I don't want any misunderstanding between me and him because of anyone else, so I'm really sorry, but I can't accept this. Shuji frowned, silently wondering how she knew that the school banned early love but still didn't bother to hide, daring to speak out words like declaring that Cho-jia was her boyfriend. Shuji still placed the love letter on the table and said, I'll leave it here. If you don't want to read it, just throw it away. Shinka suddenly saw Cho-jia and immediately feared Cho-jia's reaction, so she threw it straight into the trash can. Cho-jia came to ask her if Shuji liked her. Shinka said, oh. But I only want you to like me. Cho-jia looked at her affectionately, Xing had chosen him, and moreover, without hesitation. Shinka said, go ahead and eat, the food here is both reasonable and delicious. Try it. Cho-jia wondered, normally, you only have 1,000 yuan. Is the living expenses enough? Cho-jia thought about her always talking about reasonable prices, perhaps her economy wasn't affluent. Shinku replied, it's enough. Normally, I don't eat much, don't need to buy anything, 1,000 yuan is not little, I save a bit, and there might be some left over every month. Cho-jia recalculated based on the spending level in Beijing, 1,000 yuan was basically not enough. Why did her parents only give her 1,000 yuan? As soon as she mentioned her parents, Shinka's face darkened and he became melancholic, so Cho-jia didn't mention it anymore. After a while, she cheerfully returned, pretending to be fine, saying, go ahead and eat, otherwise the food will get cold. Cho-jia couldn't help but feel heartbroken. He said if she needed anything, she had to let him know. At this moment, Cho-jia overheard a conversation at the table behind her. Sister, do girls like receiving love letters? It depends on the situation. If you receive a love letter from a boy you like, you'll be extremely happy. Writing a love letter is also a formality compared to confessing through text messages. It can make the girl feel the writer's intentions more. Cho-jia looked at Shuji's love letter in the trash can for a while, then picked it up and opened it to read. After reading it, she felt jealous and embarrassed, unable to help but admit that such romantic words. This Shuji was quite skilled, the love letter was sincerely earnest, to the point that even a not very intelligent person like him felt moved when reading it. At this moment in class, Cho-jia thought about the words she heard in the cafeteria, that writing a love letter is also a formality, compared to confessing through text messages, it can make the girl feel the writer's intentions more. His little princess could only be better, not worse than others. Zhou Jia immediately turned to Jinghao and asked to borrow a pen. Jinghao asked, Jia, what are you doing? Writing a love letter. This answer made Jinghao choke. Oh my god! Jia is writing a love letter, he exclaimed loudly to the point that the teacher frowned and scolded. Jinghao, what are you doing? If you don't want to listen to the lecture, go stand outside. Isn't it? Jia was really trying to write a good love letter, even looking up books to see good literary styles. Is this still the Jia that Jing knew? After the evening self-study session, while Manchu was doing something secretly there, she saw Zhou Jia and felt a bit scared, so she ran away. Jia asked Jinghao, help me keep an eye on Zhao Manchu, just as Xingke walked over from behind. Zhou Jia, feeling embarrassed, took out the letter and said, this is for you. Xingke, curious to open it, was stopped by Zhou Jia, who nervously told her to take it home and read it. Xingke asked if there were words written inside. Of course. Am I giving you a manual to read? Zhou Jia joked. Although I'm not a good writer, you can read it for now. Xingke laughed, and Zhou Jia added, this is the result of my entire afternoon and evening self-study session. Is this a love letter for me? Xingke asked. Zhou Jia quickly denied it, no. Then, you spent the whole afternoon and evening writing it, it must be a short essay for me, right? Oh no, it must be a thesis, she teased intentionally. Zhou Jia nervously thought to herself, how could a poor student like him know how to write a short essay? If what he wrote didn't meet her expectations, would she be very disappointed? Then, Xingke draped her arm around Zhou Jia's shoulder and said, all right, stop looking and go home to read it, little friend. You must hold hands tightly and not let go. Then you hold my hand tightly, and we won't get lost, Xingke said seriously. Zhou Jia, once you hold my hand, you can't let go no matter what, she continued. Zhou Jia thought to herself that she wasn't afraid of any rumors. Step by step, she bravely approached him. How could he bear to let go of such a good girl? He chuckled, I'll always listen to our Xing. Your hand is in mine, and I'll never let it go. You must keep your word, don't swallow your words, Zhou Jia said. Or should I stamp a seal for you? Xingke calmly asked, what kind of seal? Zhou Jia put on a helmet for her and said, a kiss. She asked, on the cheek? On the lips. Stay calm, siblings, don't waste your life in jail. Xingke stuttered, a kiss on the lips? Although she had kissed him a few times before, she had always mustered up the courage to do so. Even in her past life, she had never been in love. Calmly closing her eyes to prepare for Zhou Jia's embrace, she was suddenly pushed away. Just teasing you. You're such a coward. All right, little friend, it's time to go home, he said. She was probably embarrassed to the point of wanting to dig a hole, but out of respect for the essay he wrote today, she wouldn't compare herself to him anymore. Time is running out, let me take you home, Zhou Jia said politely, as always. Once they arrived, Xing asked if he was free this Sunday morning. Zhou Jia remembered an appointment a client needed him to come to improve an engine over the weekend, and Xiao Qiu needed to be there in person. However, he readily said, I'm free. She mentioned that there was an English competition in the city this Sunday, and she had already signed up for it. The venue was at the Olympic Sports Center, but it seemed there was no direct bus from her place to there, so she hoped he could take her that day. Zhou Jia asked if Xing transferred to the school because of his excellent grades. She quickly waved her hand and said it wasn't that good, just because she had some free time on weekends, she decided to give it a try. Besides, if she won a prize, she could receive a reward. That's good, no need to hide it, Xing replied. Why? Are you afraid I'll feel inferior? I may not be good academically, but I'm extremely talented in other areas, Qiu said with a laugh. Xing echoed in agreement, that's right, you're the most talented in everything, absolutely. Qiu, in a gentle tone, said, all right, quickly go home. I'll take you to the competition on Sunday. After walking a few steps, she turned back and asked, will you still pick me up for school tomorrow? From now on, I'll pick you up every day, Qiu said in a masculine voice, which made her feel relieved and excited. Then, on the way home, please pay attention to safety, she said happily. After Xing entered the house, Zhou Jia immediately called Jinghao to ask about the situation with Zhao Manchu. After receiving your message, I've been waiting for her outside the school gate. After she went to the internet cafe with 2 other girls, she hasn't come out yet. I've already sent the address of the internet cafe to you, Jing reported diligently on the case Cho had assigned him. Cho instructed him to continue monitoring her. I'll head over immediately, she said. At that moment, a girl said to Manwha, don't worry, I've arranged the post. I guarantee that troublemaker won't be able to act arrogant tomorrow. Manwha agreed, okay, let's go home quickly today. Then the 3 of them said goodbye and went home. Afterward, Cho Jia called Manwha. She turned back, panicked, looking at Cho Jia. Why are you here? Cho Jia, what do you want? She asked frantically. Zhao Manwha, I haven't been clear with you in the classroom last time, right? I told you not to mess with Xingku. Why don't you understand? Are you still planning to continue monitoring her after school? Cho Jia questioned, pressing her against the wall with a stern expression. Don't explain. I'm not blind. This is your last warning. Don't touch Xingku. Keep your distance from her, or you won't be able to handle the consequences, he warned. She trembled, pushing Cho Jia away. I'm a girl too. Threatening a girl, don't you feel ashamed? She retorted. Don't talk like that to me. I don't understand. All I know is that nobody should bully Xingku. If there's another time, I'll personally turn you into ashes and throw you into the river. Don't believe me? Try it, Cho Jia said with hatred in his voice, then turned and walked away. His tone filled with resentment made Manwha feel soft, miserable, and resentful, sitting helplessly on the ground. Meanwhile, at Xingku's home, after eating and cleaning up, she eagerly lay on the bed. How many words did he have to write after spending the whole afternoon and evening on it? Ha, he's really making it difficult for himself, she thought as she slowly opened the letter, her smile gradually fading. Xingku, I like you. A humble person wants to be your protector, guarding you for a lifetime of peace and happiness. To me, Xingku, you're like the dawn, the belief I've revered for so long, she read. She couldn't help but recall that moment, in her past life, when he had cried out, Xingku, I like you. I want to marry you. If there's another life, I really want to stand under the sun, with a complete love for the girl I love. Xingku hugged the letter to her chest, realizing that whether in this life or the past, he was always Cho Jia, the best boy in the world.